Welcome. So let's take a look at ethnicity and differential educational attainment and looking at the internal factors. Now, the internal factors are the factors that happen inside the school. So this is stuff going on inside the education system that can cause differential attainment or achievement of ethnic groups. And again, we're looking at all ethnicities here. A lot of these will be influenced by what's happening outside the school, but these take place inside education. The first of these is labelling and pupil identity. So we've touched on labelling a number of times at this point, and it's attaching a meaning to someone. This could be positive or negative. Now, the key figure here is Archer. Archer looked at how teachers will judge pupils based on this idea of the ideal pupil and the demonised pupil. The ideal pupil is often white, middle class, and is seen as kind of the ideal candidate. It's the perfect version of a student. And obviously they're going to be high achieving, conforming, and hard working. And often teachers will assign this role and definition to most pupils. Demonised pupils, these are often black students who are seen or are judged to be unintelligent or peer-led, maybe aggressive, boisterous, and often results in a negative label. Positive labelling of these pupils could boost their achievement, and actually it's the positive labelling of the white pupils who often gives them more confidence to succeed. Wright also talked about assumptions about linguistics. So Wright argued that teachers make assumptions about the linguistic skills of Asian students. So often, again, assuming that students from an Asian background have low or poor English skills, may not understand, and often will speak to them in patronising or kind of very simplistic ways. And again, this could be a cause of potential underachievement, but it's also important to remember that not all ethnic minority pupils underachieve, and actually even students with English as a second language often tend to succeed more so than students who are white and speak English. In terms of pupil responses and subcultures, we've seen a few of these thinkers before. So Fuller pops up with a self-negating prophecy. So again, in her study, a group of girls who were negatively labelled by their teacher rejected the label and worked hard to succeed on their own. And again, this developed a kind of anti-school, pro-education subculture. So it shows that students can be successful despite negative labelling and the impact of those. Students can work hard and succeed on their own. And again, because this study is just one group in one school, it is slightly unrepresentative, difficult to generalise, but it's something we could see. And again, it's important to remember that this group of girls could be the exception rather than the rule. So we do have to take the study with a pinch of salt. Sewell talks about the variety of boys' responses. We've seen Sewell a number of times in this debate, particularly looking at how different boys respond to different labelling. And also there was the conformists, the innovators, rebels, and retreatists. But what he argued was that black boys are among the lower achievers in education, and Sewell found that a large majority of this group want to be successful. So it could be the negative labelling or home life factors which are pulling them down and holding them back. And last but not least, we have institutional racism inside education. So institutional racism is the education system being discriminatory against different groups, and often it's the establishment or the general ethnicity of teachers which sets the kind of dominant ideology. We also see an ethnocentric curriculum in which a curriculum of a dominant ethnicity group is the one used in education. So the ethnocentric curriculum often in most UK schools focuses on white British history and white British culture. And again, even thinking about what we learn, the history we are taught in schools is often the kind of the golden age, the kind of idealised view of the British Empire, often ignoring the horrific acts and colonialism and sort of the sort of sinister side of history. We often focus on the Britain winning World War II and Henry VIII and kings and queens and all the kind of proud moments of history, ignoring some of the more sinister materials. Now, this is also reflected in the ethnocentric assumption. So exams take place during Ramadan. We see teaching of British history, British values, promoting being pushed by the new right. This all encourages the ethnocentric curriculum.
Statistical background.
And lastly, we see marginalisation. So Gilmore talked about how schools may assume black pupils will underperform. They're less likely to offer them places, and therefore they end up in lower ability or lower achieving schools. And this again